So hello everyone. Today's recorded lecture is on chapter 5, and that's business to business marketing. So it's really important to understand the number of different industries business can market to and the important differences that each of those different industries bring, because it is completely different. And it is challenging. So you always have to, again, go back to making sure that you are meeting the needs of the different industries, maybe perhaps with just one product. So I'm going to advance to the next slide. So on this slide is the first 3 learning objectives for this chapter. So once we cover off this topic, you will be able to do these things listed here, along with these remaining 3 learning objectives listed on this slide. So the opening vignette in this chapter in the textbook is on IFS Company, and they really understand the importance of business to business marketing. You know, they develop and deliver enterprise software for customers that are all around the world. The solutions enable those customers to enhance their business performance. This company was founded in 1983, and they have grown to over 3,500 employees and also support more than 10,000 customers worldwide. With the complexity and impact to the business that IFS solutions provide, users and influencers normally play a key role in the buying process within that organization. So users utilize the software while influencers have the specialized knowledge of what is being purchased. IFS has pioneered component-based service management and enterprise resource planning software, which helps managers make decisions by aggregating company data. And it creates a huge opportunity for IFS to continue to build their customer base that they have. So now they're focusing on a few core industries. Choosing which industries to pursue is facilitated by the North American Industry Classification System, and focusing on core industries allow marketers to become more relatable to communicate with buzzwords and essentially to begin those prospective relationships. So business marketing is the marketing of products to companies, governments, or nonprofit organizations for the use in creating of goods and services that they then produce and market to others. Organizational buyers buy goods and services for their own use or for resale. Because of the nature and size of business markets, it's critical for organizations to be diligent with how their organizations are being protected. Information held by these organizations can be targeted by criminals. As seen in the infographic in your textbook, cybercrime and Canadian business, businesses spent $14 billion to prevent, detect, and recover from cybersecurity incidences. So there is 4 different markets for organizational buyers. The first one is industrial, second reseller, government, and nonprofit. In industrial markets, there are over 2.4 million businesses in this industrial market. These markets, they reprocess a product or a service they buy before selling it again to the next buyer. So those primary industries are like agriculture, fishing, mining, forestry, and also utilities, manufacturers, and some construction firms. So the service market sells diverse services such as like legal advice, auto repair, dry cleaning, and also includes organizations such as finance, insurance, and real estate businesses, transportation, communication, and public utility firms, and some nonprofit associations. Now moving down to number 2 there, the reseller markets. There's over 200,000 retailers and over 65,000 wholesalers. So they buy physical products and then sell them again without any reprocessing. Then the third one there, government markets. So this is federal, provincial, regional, and municipal. So federal has over 280 billion budget, and that's back in 2013. Possibly the largest customer in Canada. And it's done by Public Works and Procurement Canada. Then the fourth one there for nonprofits, so there's approximately 83,000 registered with Revenue Canada. So they operate without having any financial profit as a goal. They seek to provide goods and services for the good of society, so like hospitals, art organizations, cultural groups, and some like research institutions can be classified as nonprofits. And they do come with some tax advantages. The North American Industry Classification System provides common industry definitions for Canada, Mexico, and the United States, which make easier the measurement of the economic activity amongst these 3 member countries in the North American Free Trade Agreement. Market share, demand for goods and services, competition from imports in the domestic markets, etc. So the first 2 digits indicate the sector of the economy and then are broken down, as you can see in this figure 5.1. So 9 out of 10 business-to-business marketers use content marketing tactics. That is, they choose various ways to reach their target audience. Businesses of all sizes are learning the importance of listening rather than preaching in order to acquire and retain those customers. Business-to-business marketers can engage audiences to act by implementing an effective content marketing strategy. So companies may now spend approximately a quarter of their marketing budgets on getting content marketing right for their audience. Since technology and talent are now readily available to most organizations, there is tremendous value to a company to get its message right and also to keep it relevant. Objective for making a purchase is to solve a problem, satisfied, a need, or a want. Unique objectives and policies of an organization put special constraints on how it makes buying decisions. Understanding the characteristics of organizational buying is essential in designing effective marketing programs to reach those buyers. Figure 5.2 discusses the key characteristics of the organizational buying behavior. So the first one there is the market characteristics. So that is demand for industrial products is derived. Then the number of business customers is typically small and their purchase orders are typically large. Then moving down to the purple one, the product or service characteristics. Products or services are technical in nature and purchased on the basis of specifications. Many goods purchased are raw or are semi-finished. Heavy emphasis is placed on delivery time, technical assistance, and also post-sale services. Now moving down to the blue square, the buying process characteristics. Technically qualified and professional buyers follow established purchasing policies and procedures. Buying objectives and criteria are typically spelled out, as are procedures for evaluating sellers and their products or services. There are multiple buying influences and multiple parties participate in the purchase decisions. There are reciprocal agreements and also negotiation between buyers and sellers in this commonplace. Online buying over the internet is also widespread here. Then moving over to the orange box, the marketing mix characteristics. Personal selling to organizational buyers is used extensively and distribution is very important. Advertising and other forms of promotion are technical in nature. Price is often negotiated, evaluated as part of broader seller and producer or service qualities, and frequently affected by quantity discounts. Organizational buying is often based on expectations for future demand. Figure 5.3 is an example of derived demand for a pulp and paper product that is based on consumer demand for products like newspapers, Domino's Keep Pizza Warm, pizza to go boxes, FedEx packages, and also disposable diapers. In elastic demand, whether there is an increase or a decrease of the price of a business-to-business product, customers will buy the same quantity. So it's basically a necessity. Fluctuating demand, where there's small changes in demand for a customer product, can result in large changes for the business-to-business needs. Buyers often get competitive bids from at least 3 prospective suppliers when the order is above a specific amount, maybe $5,000. So when the order is above or higher than that amount, it may require the review and approval of a vice president or even the president of a company. Knowing how the size of the order affects buying practices is important in determining who participates in the purchase decision and makes that final decision, as well as the length of time required to arrive at that purchase agreement. Again, trying to figure out who makes that purchase decision and how long it takes it is so important. For business firms, the buying objective is usually to increase profits through reducing costs or increasing sales. So for a not-for-profit firms and government agencies, the objective is usually to meet the needs of the groups that they serve. Organizational buying criteria are the detailed specifications for the product and services they want to buy and the characteristics of the suppliers that will supply them. There are 7 commonly used buying criteria, which are price, ability to meet the quality specifications required for an item, ability to meet required delivery schedules, the technical capability, warranties and claim policies in the event of poor performance, past performance on previous contracts, and also the production facilities and its capacity that has. Reverse marketing involves the deliberate effort of organizational buyers to build relationships that shape suppliers, products, services, and capabilities to fit a buyer's needs and those of its customers. Business-to-business buying decisions are usually driven by one emotion, and that emotion is fear. Specifically, business-to-business buying is all about minimizing fear by eliminating risk. And there are 2 different distinct types of risk, organizational and also personal. So organizational risk is a risk of working with a particular organization. And then personal risk is the risk of being reprimanded in some way for making the wrong decision. Both can be reduced with prior experience, also testimonials, guarantees, etc. Anything that transfers that risk. Humans do not always make rational decisions. In fact, some decisions are made irrationally. People use shortcuts, gut feel, emotions, beliefs, instincts, and habits sometimes to reach decisions. Organizational buying is more likely to involve complex and lengthy negotiations concerning delivery schedules, price, technical specifications, warranties, and also claim policies. Reciprocity agreements is an industrial buying practice in which two organizations agree to purchase each other's products and services. A supply partnership exists when a buyer and its sellers adopt mutually beneficial objectives, policies, and procedures for the purpose of lowering the cost and or increasing the value of products and services delivered to that ultimate customer. So in the previous chapter, we discussed how customers go through the buying process. Now we're going to turn and we're going to discuss how organizations approach the buying process. So this is where decisions are made to help establish the need for the products and services and identify and evaluate and then choose alternative brands and suppliers. So on this slide here, it breaks down the stages of the organizational buying process, and I'm sure you're looking at it thinking, oh, I've seen this before, and it is very similar to how customers go through that purchase decision process. There are some subtle differences, and I'm going to walk through and explain, using an example, making the difference between consumer and business. So the first stage is problem recognition. So when it comes to the consumer process, say, a student doesn't like the features of the cell phone that they now own as compared to the features of a smartphone and desires to purchase a new phone. Now, a business, marketing, they do marketing research, and their sales departments observe that competitors are improving the quality of cameras in their new models of cell phones, which will be purchased from an outside supplier. So now moving down to the next step, information search. A student, in terms of the consumer, a student uses past experience and that of, friends and ads, the internet, to collect information and uncover alternatives. Now applying it to business, the design and the production engineers draft specifications for that camera on that phone, and the purchasing department identifies suppliers that they can get cameras from to put into those cell phones. Now moving down to the evaluation of alternatives, going through the customer first. Alternative smartphones are evaluated in terms of the student on the basis of important attributes desired in a smartphone. And several stores, or online stores would be visited. Now, in terms of a business, purchasing and engineering personnel visit with suppliers and assess facilities, the capacity they have, quality control, and also the financial status. They drop any suppliers not satisfactory with some of those factors that I just mentioned. Now moving down to the purchase decision. First, again, the consumer. So a specific brand of smartphone is now selected by the student, the price is paid, and that student leaves the store. Now going to the business decision. They use quality, price, delivery, and technical capability as key buying criteria to select the supplier. And then they negotiate the terms and award a contract to that supplier. Now the last stage, post-purchase behavior. First, again, we'll go through the consumer. So this is where the student re-evaluates the purchase decision, and it may return the smartphone to the store if it's not satisfactory. Now on a business angle, they evaluate the supplier using a formal vendor rating system and notify the supplier if the cameras do not meet their quality standard. If the problem is not corrected, they drop that company as a future supplier. So, a buying center consists of people from an organization that participates in that buying process and share common goals, risks, and also knowledge to make important purchase decisions. In large multi-chain resellers, the buying center is very formal and called a buying committee. A firm marketing to industrial firms and governmental units must understand the structure, the technical, and business functions represented, and the behavior of the buying center. So they need to ask themselves the following questions. Which individuals are in the buying center for the product or the service? 2, what is the relative influence of each member of this group? 3, what are the buying criteria of each member? And 4, how does each member of the group perceive the potential supplier, its products, its services, and also its salespeople? The composition of the buying center depends on the item being bought. A buyer or a purchasing manager is almost always a member and individuals from other functional areas, which are including and depending on that purchase. Researchers have identified 5 specific roles that one or more individuals can play in that buying center. So the first one here is users. Those are the people in the organization who actually use the product or service, such as office staff, who will use new word processing software. In the purple, influencers, they affect the buying decision, usually by helping define the specifications for what is bought. They usually have some specialized knowledge. The information systems manager would be a key influencer in the purchase of a new computer network. In the blue, buyers have a formal authority and responsibility to select the supplier and negotiate the terms of the contract. The purchasing manager probably would perform this role in the purchase of a computer network. The deciders have the formal or informal power to select or approve the supplier that receives that contract. Whereas in routine orders, the decider is usually the buyer or the purchasing manager. In important technical purchases, it's more likely to be someone from research and development, engineering, or even quality control. The decider for a key component being included in a final manufactured product might be any of these 3 people just mentioned. Moving to the green square or the green circle, which is the gatekeepers, they control the flow of information in that buying center. So purchasing personnel, technical experts, the office staff can all help and prevent salespeople from reaching people performing the other 4 roles. Can either help them or prevent them. The number of people in the buying center largely depends on the specific buying situation. There are 3 types of buying situations called by class that vary from the routine reorder to the completely new purchase. So a straight rebuy, this is when the buyer or the purchasing manager reorders an existing product or service from a list of acceptable suppliers, probably without even checking with users or influencers from engineering, production, or the quality control departments. Examples would be like office supplies and maintenance services are usually done through just straight rebuys. Modified rebuy, this is when the company is purchasing a product that has that they have experience purchasing, such as new laptops for salespeople, but it wants to change the product specifications, the price, the delivery schedule, or even the supplier. Usually it means involving users, influencers, and or the deciders in the buying decision. More input than would be necessary if you were just doing a straight rebuy. Now moving down to a new buy, this is when the company obviously is buying the product or service for the first time. It involves greater potential risk and more complex than any other buying decision. In your textbook on figure 5.6, it shows how the buying situation affects buying center behavior. Buying center is larger, containing people representing those parts of the organization having a stake in that new buy. So please take a look at figure 5.6 in your textbook. So customer market segmentation places customers into groups that have common needs and respond similarly with marketing programs. The process of segmenting business markets divides markets based on the type of customer, the size, the buying situation, the customer location, and also the benefits sought. So in terms of the type of customer, the NAICS codes discussed earlier provide a useful tool for identifying different business target markets. Many business-to-business marketers divide their potential market into large and small accounts, using separate distribution channels to reach those different size of customers. Business-to-business marketers can divide their potential market by the 3 types of buy classes. That's the buying situation. So it's either a new buy, a modified rebuy, and a straight rebuy, like I just mentioned in the previous slide. Customer location, this is where the product manager might segment based on the region or the actual location of that potential customer. Firms located in a metropolitan area might receive a personal sales call, whereas those outside the area might be contacted by telephone. And then the last thing there, benefits sought. The market may also be segmented on the basis of the benefits sought. So Xerox may decide to focus on firms looking for quality products and good customer service as opposed to those looking simply for lower prices. Due to the rising competition, organizations are learning from their successes and adapting to their failures. Scale allows organizations to vastly outnumber customers in terms of both online transactions made and purchase volume. Organizational buyers account for about 80% of the total worldwide dollar value of all online transactions. Independent e-marketplaces exist in settings that have one or more of the following: thousands of geographically dispersed buyers and sellers, frequently changing prices caused by demand and supply fluctuations, time sensitivity due to perishable offerings and changing technologies, and lastly, easily comparable offerings between a variety of suppliers. Many e-marketplaces offer online auctions, and there's 2 different types of those. The first one is traditional auction. This is bidding happens sequentially. The prospective buyers observe the bids of others and decide whether or not to increase their bid price. Reverse auction is the buyer communicates a need for a product or service, and would-be suppliers are invited to bid in competition with each other. So there's more of a downward pressure on the price. So that concludes the slides that go along with chapter 5 on business to business marketing. I just wanted to again kind of recap back the importance of being able to provide good solutions in businesses and understanding the buying behavior for businesses, because there are some differences between a customer going to make a purchase versus a business going to make a purchase, and how there could be many more people involved in figuring out who plays what role at the table that decides which supplier is selected.